Now, whilst I won't be dashing out to vote for the Green Party at the next election, I do like to think of myself as a bit of an eco-warrior. I take great pride in making sure that I recycle my household waste, whether it's crisp packets, drink bottles, coffee cups, or let's be honest, wine bottles. Into the recycling it goes. Imagine the disappointment I felt then when I realised I may have been wasting my time. Plenty of the stuff that I've been sending to recycling simply cannot be recycled because the packaging is too damn complicated. There's talk of a new consumer levy being introduced to stop us using things like disposable coffee cups. But frankly, I am fed up with us consumers having to shoulder the burden of what should be paid for by manufacturers. It's time for them to step up to the plate and start using packaging that doesn't cost the earth.
There's no question about it that there's huge amounts of waste. I think it's wrong to say that companies do not take responsibility. I mean, in my industry, with beer bottles, people say, oh, they're new beer bottles, but they don't realise that actually well over 50% of the glass used in making a new beer bottle is recycled glass. Initiatives that have been taken by the government, for example, the 5 pence being charged for carrier bags, has actually reduced consumption by 85%. I mean, I wish that would happen around the world, because when you travel around the world, you see the waste of carrier bags and plastic just being thrown, the waste in the oceans. It is criminal. It should not take place. And I think we need to encourage more recycling at every stage. I mean, then there are good initiatives. For example, Jaden Smith has helped launch Just Water in 2008, and this is a company that sells spring water in more planet-friendly bottles. Over just 82% of the Just bottles are made out of renewable resources, and it's 100% recyclable where recycling is available. Now, this is the other thing. Recycling has got to be available everywhere. But again, you get so many examples of what we consume, and if you look at the packaging, the amount of packaging for takeaway food, there's so much of it. You think, why must there be so much packaging?
I've got some packaging I'm going to show you, actually, because for me, why I have a problem with manufacturers, so you talk about the 5 pence carrier bag charge, but actually that's put onto us as consumers. Now, when I go to the supermarket, I'm like some kind of octopus. I can balance stuff in places and crevices that you didn't even know I had. However, why should that pressure be put onto me as a consumer? Why aren't manufacturers pressured more into being told, listen, you've got to come up with a biodegradable example or a fully recyclable example? Because when I put stuff like this away into recycling, which I do, I just assume I can recycle this because it's paper or card.
You ate it earlier, clearly.
Yeah, but I never stop eating. But things like this, the film, it makes it unrecyclable because it's too complex. Stuff like this, in the recycling, I would definitely put that into recycling. You can't recycle this. You can recycle this bit, but because this has got springs and stuff in it, it doesn't. So it just doesn't get recycled. Now, this was a surprising one for me, is this. I always recycle stuff like that. You can't, because when this goes through the recycling plants in most places, the infrared scanner can't pick this up because of its colouring. So into the bin it goes.
Wow. I mean, there are some simple solutions to that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
to the manufacturers to be doing more.
So the manufacturers, again, as I say, as a manufacturer myself, as a proud manufacturer, there are a lot of regulations, and by the way, a lot of them are EU regulations, and they're very good regulations to encourage us to be much more eco-friendly in every way. And I gave one example of the bottles. The way that we recycle making beer, for example, every single part of it virtually is recycled. Even the waste from the producing of the beer goes to make Marmite,
which I
for
love.
example. And the water, the usage of water. We continue to work to use less water when you're producing beer. It takes a lot of water to produce the beer, let alone the beer. The water is actually in the beer. So a bottled water that we produce, we make sure that it's in glass. So that, it's not exported at all. So it's only sold within the UK. So you can make steps like that, and all the bottled glass is recyclable.
It's consumer and manufacturer behaviour, isn't it?
Yes.
Yesterday I was in Boots, and I was in the queue in Boots to buy something, and there was this guy in front of me, and it was not the pharmacist counter, it was the normal counter. So they said, would you like a bag? And he said, I want one of the paper bags that you use to give medicines, because you don't have to pay for a paper bag. And they said, no, sorry, at this counter we only have plastic bags, and that will be 5 pence. And I don't know his circumstances, but I suspect he could have afforded 5p for a bag. And he just refused. He said, I want to speak to the manager. I want to pay back. I'm not paying for a bag. And, you know, those of us behind him in the queue, well, we're not
quite frustrated.
We're impressed. But it did make me think it's so interesting how powerful it
Would you have felt differently if
behaviour.
you didn't argue it on the cost, but on the fact that paper is biodegradable?
Principle, yeah.
I suspect he wouldn't have argued it had it not been for the cost, and that's the point.
But if he had made an environmental
5p.
argument, would it have changed your perspective on his position?
Yeah, I suppose I would have been slightly marginally
you
less
still need to
annoyed.
get to
It's just that he was trying to say... But it's good, though, because that's the point of the 5p for plastic bags, is that it, even though you can afford 5p, it's disincentivising.
So actually, there's a funny thing
because
here, which is that a recent survey found
bags.
that actually the people that are most conscious about the environment, of course we all should be, there's nothing to disagree with what's being said here, but the people that are the most conscious happen also to be perhaps generally of the elite of that crowd, people that also eat less meat because they're conscious about the fact that meat uses a lot of water, are the same people, coincidentally, who have the biggest carbon footprint because they fly around the world more, because they're in the global elite class, they're all educated and had to actually running around the world doing business deals. And so on the one hand, they're recycling their rubbish, they're eating less meat, they're concerned about eco-friendly policies in their micro lives, but their behaviour in the kind of climate that they're in is leaving a larger carbon footprint. And that does leave me with the conclusion that there does need to be a combination of consumer behaviour and government regulation and on the company side, manufacturer side as well.
One area, it's an important point you made, this is one area where I believe that people who are sceptics about climate change or don't believe in it, this has got nothing to do with that. I think everyone from childhood, from school, should be brought up to be environmentally friendly with waste like this, to be able to recycle as much as possible, not to litter. I think that's got to be, everyone around the world's got to be brought up in that way. It's a must.
What do you think, Carol?
I'm quite surprised by some of the things that you've said there, because for the blue bottle, I thought that was recyclable. And what I've learned is that, and things like the Pringles cartons, those Pringles cartons, the Lucozade bottles, none of those are recyclable. So presumably that just all goes into landfill. I mean, how much goes into landfill every year?
But also, I just want to show you some images. This is from the Sky Ocean Rescue campaign, and this is from Mumbai in India. And, we have issues here, but actually, in the developing world, where they don't have either waste processing or recycling facilities as well developed, it's literally just taking over the environment. And actually, one of the most scandalous things is that countries like Britain are shipping waste to developing countries, which is illegal, but it is happening. So, I don't know where all those plastic bags come from, but, the consequences can be really dramatic.